Can somebody please tell me? I'm able to hear anyone.
Yes, you're audible. You can begin now.
Hello. I'm not able to hear anybody. Something is not right.
Hello, Param, are we audible? Hello.
I think now I will make a start. Is it okay, Mayank? Mayank? Take, I hope my PPTs are visible and my audio is also audible. Yeah. So good evening, all the participants. Welcome to the today's webinar, in which we are going to discuss a topic which is very relevant, considering the risk involved into that, and the important but less discussed act, that is FCRA, that is Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. And we are going to discuss here what are the challenges, what we can do, and what are the opportunities in this field, and how, as a chartered accountant, we can help our society or the economy to avoid some of the risk which could be related to this foreign contribution. So this act, even though it is much talked about, which is related to the NPO, non-profit organization, but my point of view is that it is not only, we should not restrict it only to the NPOs or the trust or the societies, but we should be also try to uh, check or verify the provisions of this act, whether this could be well applicable for other types of the audits like the companies or for any other entities where we are dealing with this foreign contribution, because there are certain risk elements into this, and that's what I say. The first, there are certain challenges, but these challenges are giving us a lot of opportunities as a chartered accountants, and those things we are going to discuss in today's session. As I said, when we are going to discuss any of this law, we should first understand the basic provisions of this act. So we are going to today, our focus is restricted only about to understand what is this law, what are the various provisions. Normally, we what I do while discussing this law, this type of laws, I refer a lot of case laws so that we can understand a bit easily. But since this is a very first, I hope the session on this act as a webinar. So just we will understand the basic framework, and perhaps in the next couple of webinars, or if the committee provides us the opportunity, then we will go for the various case laws, how to deal with the various circumstances which will come up with this FCRA kind of an compliances and all these things. So first, as a first webinar on this act, we will just understand the framework and the provisions of these acts, and we will look into that where we can helpful for the compliances or to verify the compliances of these acts while providing the professional services. So what is the objectives of this Foreign Contribution Regulation Act? It is to regulate the foreign contribution, right? And how they are going to regulate this foreign contribution? So they are going to regulate this contribution by providing rules like who can accept the foreign contribution. If they are going to accept by certain processes, then how this foreign contribution to be utilized, right? And of course there are certain prohibitions which is there, and the prohibition tells that who cannot accept or how the person cannot accept this foreign contribution. Not only foreign contribution but the foreign hospitality also. And why I am saying that this is important, because of the incremental money laundering related activities, terrorist finance activities, we need to understand the use or the compliances of this act, because there are various forms of the money laundering which are cropping up, and that makes very difficult to identify the source or how these circulations of this terrorist financing is happening. On that background इस एक्ट का महत्व बढ़ जाता है. And that's why, as I said, there are challenges, but that challenges are giving us a lot of opportunities. So the framework is of this act is to regulate the foreign contribution, as I said. Now, whether it is applicable and to whom it is applicable. So it extends, as normally we see, all laws are now extending to whole of the India. But in addition to that, it is applicable to the citizens who are outside of India, right? And it is also applicable to the associates, branches, or subsidiaries of Indian companies which are outside of the India. So any company which is registered, incorporated in India, but if they are doing certain businesses, if they are opening up certain branches, or if they are having their subsidiaries in the foreign countries, for those subsidiaries also, the provisions of these acts are applicable, and they need to comply with these provisions. So in a larger way, it is not only for the citizens of India. Of course, it is citizens for India, but citizens residing in India, citizens who are residing outside India, and the subsidiaries or the branches of the Indian companies which are located in the foreign countries. For those, all those things, this act is applicable, right? So this is a wider coverage as far as the applicability of this act is considered. नॉर्मली जो पर्सन की डेफिनेशन हम सुनते आए हैं एंड व्हाट वी अंडरस्टैंड हु इज द पर्सन, फॉर दैट पर्पजेस द पर्सन इज डिफाइंड as well in this in this act also. So it includes the individual Hindu undivided family, then it includes the association, and association is important. Then company registered under section 25 of then Companies Act, but similarly now the company which is registered under section 8 of the Companies Act 2013. For all this is included as a person. So when we are talking about it is applicable to all types of the person, so we now understand, even though we talk a lot about this act from the perspective of the NPO, but the provisions are well applicable even for the companies, right? Companies which are registered under section 8, or individual, or Hindu undivided family. Let's go ahead. Right. So what is association? Normally we do have an understanding of PO and all these things, but again, from the law, from this law perspective, the association is defined. So association of individuals, whether incorporated or not, that gives us some substance. Why I'm telling so? क्योंकि बहुत बार ऐसे एसोसिएशन बन जाते हैं जिसको रजिस्टर नहीं किया जाता है किसी एक्ट के अंदर. दे कम टुगेदर, दे डू सम वर्क फॉर सम ऑब्जेक्टिव, फॉर सम पर्पजेस. कोई भी हो सकता है. इट कुड बी कल्चरल वन, इट कुड बी इकोनॉमिकल वन, इट कुड बी फॉर स्पोर्ट्स पर्पजेस, इट कुड बी फॉर फॉर सर्टन फंक्शनल पर्पजेस, राइट? तो ये एसोसिएशन उस वक्त रजिस्टर नहीं होती है, इनकॉर्पोरेट नहीं होती है, बट दे मेनी ऑफ द पीपल, इंडिविजुअल पीपल्स ज्वाइन टुगेदर and they arrange some program, they coordinate within them, and in those cases, in those functions, for those objectives also, they may receive the foreign contribution, right? So यहाँ एक point हमें याद रखना है कि it is not necessary that it is applicable only to the societies or the trust which are registered under that relevant law. उनके लिए तो applicable है, बट जो एसोसिएशन नॉर्मली रजिस्टर नहीं होती है, कभी कभी द चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स आर प्रोवाइडिंग सर्विसेज टू सच एसोसिएशंस for preparation of the books of accounts, for finalization of their financial statements, right? And sometimes that needs to be submitted to certain organization which are arranging these kind of an objective oriented functions. So for that purposes also the foreign contribution may be a part of their corpus, may be the part of their donation. So here also we should be very careful while dealing with those financial statements कि भाई अगर ऐसी एसोसिएशन है जिनके हम इनकम टैक्स रिटर्न फाइल कर रहे हैं या जिनके हम अकाउंट्स फाइनल कर रहे हैं, सो वेदर दे आर कलेक्टिंग एनी फॉरेन कंट्रीब्यूशन दैट वी हैव टू वेरीफाई. सोसाइटी तो इसमें इंक्लूड है. सो इन द एसोसिएशन दे हैव इंक्लूडेड द सोसाइटीज विच आर रजिस्टर्ड अंडर 1860 एंड सो फोर्थ, एनी अदर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन बाय व्हाटएवर नेम कॉल्ड. So this gives you a very larger perspective. Okay, so it includes any other organization which by whatever name come. So in all the association of persons by whatever name, by whatever nature is covered from the in this definition. What as a chartered accountant, by whatever services we are providing, we just have to confirm in that for these association any of the foreign contribution has been received, accepted, transferred during that particular period for which we are providing the services. That is the point. We have to grab it here, right? Again, the candidate for election, normally we know who is the candidate for election, who is nominated, who is filing his nomination for the election. There is certain relevance. And in some cases, for declaring their, wealth, etc., the certifications may be required, or some of the chartered accountants may be involved in the preparations of their financial data for the election purposes. For that also the provisions needs to be kept in mind, right? Company we all know what is company, which is as per the Indian Companies Act. But in this act, the company which is defined under this act is the company which is defined as per the Income Tax Act, right? So if you refer to this section 217 of the Income Tax Act, it includes obviously all the Indian companies. It includes the company which is incorporated outside India under other laws or the foreign laws of the foreign countries. So those companies are also included in the definition of the company. Any institutions or any association or body which is or was accessible as an as a company under the Income Tax Act provision, or any institution or association or body which is declared as a company by the board, that is CBDT. So all of them are covered under the definition of the company under the provisions of this act. Okay, so again, it does not restrict only to the Indian companies, but it is going to cover a larger extent of other types of the companies for the applicability of the provisions of this act. So the core part of this FCRA, what is the core part of this FCRA? So the core part of this FCRA is the foreign contribution, because this act deals with the foreign contribution. So in this context, it is very necessary to understand what is foreign contribution, because all this act revolves around this foreign contribution as a conceptual part, we can say. So what is foreign contribution? So foreign contribution is defined under clause H of the section 2 of this act. So foreign contribution क्या होता है? So foreign contribution basically it could be donation. One of the nature could be of a donation, it could be delivery, or it could be transfer, right? So it could be in any form of donation, it could be any form of delivery, it could be any form of transfer, and that needs to be done by who? By any foreign source, right? So forms are clear for the foreign contribution. Forms क्या है? डोनेशन फॉर्म है, डिलीवरी एक फॉर्म है, ट्रांसफर एक फॉर्म है, और वो कौन कर रहा है? सो दिस इज डन बाय द फॉरेन सोर्स. अब इसमें डोनेशन किस बात का होता है, डिलीवरी किस बात की होती है, और ट्रांसफर किस बात का होता है? सो डोनेशन, डिलीवरी और ट्रांसफर ऑफ एनी आर्टिकल. सो अगेन इट इज अ वाइडर कवरेज, एनी आर्टिकल, and any article, but there is a restriction amount wise. If any article, the market value of this article exceeds rupees 25,000, right? So if the donation of any article, delivery of any article, transfer of any article having the market value exceeding rupees 25,000, that will be treated as a foreign contribution. Another way, the delivery, donation or transfer of an article which is a personal gift, right? जैसे कि हम अगर बाहर के कंट्री में जाते हैं, वहां के हमारे जो रिलेटिव्स है, दे मे गिव अस अ आर्टिकल, अ प्रेजेंट एज अ गिफ्ट. So this will be treated as a personal gift, and that personal gift is exempted. So that personal gift is not treated as a foreign contribution. Number one. किसी भी article, the article which is having the market value less than rupees 25,000, that will also be not treated as a foreign contribution, right? But other than that, अगर वो पर्सनल गिफ्ट नहीं है और उसकी मार्केट वैल्यू 25,000 से ज्यादा है, then that will be treated if it is donated, delivered, transferred by the foreign sources. In many of our cultural programs, in many of our uh, religious programs, I can say, we many times hear that that particular association received the donation from the foreign sources, right? Now here the test to be applied, if any chartered accountant is providing services for such association, and when they came to know that for that particular association they are receiving either the donation या कोई ऑर्नामेंट आ जाते हैं, गोल्ड के ऑर्नामेंट आ जाते हैं, ज्वेलरी आ जाती है, राइट, फ्रॉम द फॉरेन सोर्सेस. Now it is the responsibility of the chartered accountant who is providing the services there to confirm whether this is falling under the provisions of this foreign contribution by applying the test of this definition, right? So this is the first अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ व्हाट इज फॉरेन कंट्रीब्यूशन. और इसमें क्या आ जाता है? फॉरेन कंट्रीब्यूशन विच इज डोनेटेड, डिलीवर्ड और ट्रांसफर्ड एज अ करेंसी, एंड इट इज नॉट नेसेसरली दैट करेंसी शुड बी ओनली द फॉरेन करेंसी. ऐसा नहीं कि वी आर ओनली रिसीविंग आइदर इन द यूएस डॉलर्स और इन द पाउंड्स और एनी अदर फॉरेन कंपनी. Even from the foreign sources, we are receiving the INRs, right? Then also it is going to be treated as a foreign contribution. Sometimes the foreign contribution could be in the form of security, which is coming under the Securities Contract Act. It could be in the form of shares, it could be in the form of debentures, bonds, or the kind of funds, right? So that could also be covered if it is getting received from the foreign source. So these three elements we have to very carefully check and verify if we are providing the services to the persons which are defined and to whom the act is applicable, right? Then for these purposes, एक सवाल हमारे दिमाग में चलता है. So what will happen? So suppose there is an organization P. Now P is not getting the donation directly, right? What is happening? The foreign resident X is transferring this amount to the Indian resident Y, and Y is now donating that amount to the association in India. So this direct, either direct or direct is a foreign contribution, but even this indirect contribution जो आ रहा है, that is also treated as a foreign contribution. So there is no via route which we may think about. So that's why the explanation to this act is clearly provided for this foreign contribution purposes. A donation, delivery or transfer of any article, currency or security from any foreign source, either directly, if the foreign resident X is giving that to association P, that is the direct foreign contribution. But let us say the foreign resident X is transferring to the Indian resident Y, and Y is making the payment to that association P, then also it is covered under a foreign contribution, right? So it shall also be deemed as a foreign contribution within the meaning of this clause, right? इतना ही नहीं, suppose any association, any organization or any entity which has received the foreign contribution, and that contribution, let us understand it is in the form of currency, that association has kept that amount for the use of the objectives in the bank deposit, and on that bank deposit the association is receiving the interest. So the source of the deposit is what? The source of the deposit is foreign contribution, right? The source of the deposit is foreign contribution, and hence interest received on such deposit is also treated as a foreign contribution, right? So not only the first principal amount is going to be treated as a foreign contribution, but any interest or dividend accrued on such foreign contribution, that is also to be treated as a foreign contribution. So ये बातें we have to keep in our checklist. Now इसके लिए कौन सी ऐसी चीज है जो फॉरेन कंट्रीब्यूशन से बाहर मानी जाती है? So we are talking about exceptions. Which are those things, which are those payments, which are those receipts which can be excluded for the purpose of foreign contribution? So the exclusions are the fees received or derived for the commercial activities, of course. So whatever the payments which a company or any association or any individual, if he is receiving for some commercial activities, for commercial services provided, that payment will not be treated as a foreign contribution. The salary, wages or other remuneration, that is also excluded from this definition of the foreign contribution. Any payments received for from international trade or commerce, of course, this is going to be this is going to be excluded, because for that purposes the other laws are there. Gifts and presentation made as a member of Indian delegation in accordance with the rules made by the central government. तो बहुत सारे गवर्नमेंट के जो डेलीगेशन बाहर जाते हैं, उनको अगर कोई गिफ्ट मिलता है, उनको अगर कोई प्रेजेंट मिलता है, so that is excluded from the definition of this foreign contribution. As I said, the personal gift received, right? So gift received from the relatives, those are also excluded from the definition of the foreign contribution. Remittances received in the ordinary course of business through the official channel, post office or authorized person under FEMA 1999, those remittances are excluded. And any scholarship, stipend or similar kind of a net payment if somebody receives, so these are the exclusions, exemptions which cannot be considered as a foreign contribution. So when we as a chartered accountant providing the services, we need to apply, when we see some of the receipts are from the foreign sources, we first have to apply the test that which of those receipts are falling under these exclusions, exemptions, and which are those receipts which could be applicable, for which the foreign contribution test would be applicable. So this one test should be there in our checklist, right? To confirm that whether it is a foreign contribution or not. इसमें एक और चीज है the act prohibits that person cannot accept foreign contribution, as well as the person cannot accept foreign hospitality also. Right? So ये दोनों चीजों बैन कर दिए हैं with certain exception. Right? So what is that? So we have now understood what is foreign contribution. Now let us understand what is foreign hospitality. Right? So foreign hospitality is a casual one. It could be in a cash. It could be in a kind. Again, by whom? The source is foreign source. Right? इसके एग्जाम्पल क्या है? So suppose I am going into the foreign countries, and whatever be the cost of my travel, that is all bared by that foreign resources, or any boarding facility, any lodging facility, any transportation related facility, or any medical treatment related facility that has been funded by the foreign source. Right? बहुत बार हो जाता है कि we may come across such kind of an expenditure, we may come across such kind of an tours which could be arranged, and there the funding is done not by the Indian source but by the foreign source. So that falls under the definition of the foreign hospitality. And even if for this foreign hospitality, the provisions of these acts are applicable and compliances needs to be verified and checked, right? Now, when we are discussing about the foreign contribution or the foreign hospitality, in both these definition, they are talking about the foreign source, right? Because even if the foreign contribution received from the foreign source, or that foreign hospitality that is has been funded by the foreign source. So what is exactly that foreign source? See, these are the very core part of understanding of the provisions of this act. क्योंकि these acts revolves around all these things. क्योंकि बहुत बार dispute कहाँ पे आ जाएगा कि whether this is a foreign contribution or not, whether this is falling under the foreign hospitality or not, and whether that was a foreign source or not. तो इसके अराउंड ये सारे डिस्प्यूट आ जाएंगे. And for that purposes, there is a need to understand what is foreign source. So what is foreign source? Any source or any payment received from the government of any foreign country. Right? That is a foreign source. With we have to keep that in mind, that keeping in mind the provisions of exceptions as well. Right? Then foreign source means what? So it includes international agency as well. Right? So the first foreign source is foreign country's government. The second foreign source is any payment received from any international agencies. इंटरनेशनल एजेंसी में कौन कवर नहीं होता है? यूनाइटेड नेशंस यूएन कवर नहीं होता है, वर्ल्ड बैंक कवर नहीं होता है, आईएमएफ इस डेफिनेशन में कवर नहीं होता है, और एनी अदर सच एजेंसी विच द सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट में स्पेसिफाई. सो अगेन इफ वी रिसीव द पेमेंट फ्रॉम यूएनओ, वर्ल्ड बैंक, आईएमएफ, तो दैट विल बी नॉट ट्रीटेड एज अ फॉरेन सोर्स फॉर दिस एक्ट पर्पजेस. लेकिन इस एजेंसी के अलावा अगर दूसरी कोई इंटरनेशनल एजेंसी कोई हमें कंट्रीब्यूशन दे रही है, हॉस्पिटैलिटी प्रोवाइड कर रही है, सो दैट इंटरनेशनल एजेंसी विल बी ट्रीटेड एज एन फॉरेन सोर्स. Any funding, foreign contribution, foreign hospitality provided by the foreign company. I hope, as a chartered accountant, we all know what is foreign company. Any foreign source is also include the corporation or multinational corporations, right? Now, the company is registered in India. See, what is the situation here? We are talking about a foreign source, but this company is incorporated and registered in India, but 50% or more of its share capital is held by the foreign sources, right? So company registered or incorporated in India as per the Indian Act, बट उसके 50% या ज्यादा शेयर कैपिटल अगर फॉरेन गवर्नमेंट ने हेल्ड किए हैं या फॉरेन कंट्री के सिटीजन ने लिए हैं, अगर फॉरेन कंट्री के ट्रस्ट के पास उसके शेयर्स हैं या फॉरेन कंपनी के पास उसके शेयर्स हैं. So if the aggregate of 50% or more of the shares collectively or singly is controlled or owned by any of these persons, it could be the government, it could be the foreign citizen, it could be the foreign trust, then also the foreign contribution paid by that Indian company, foreign hospitality paid by that Indian company is also be going to be treated as a foreign source. Right. So two, three things we are very clear about it. So first, we should understand what is foreign contribution, what is foreign hospitality, and the tricky point, Indian company having the shareholding 50% or more by these foreign persons, then also it is going to be treated as a foreign source. Right. Then, other than that, a trade union in foreign country that is treated as a foreign source, foreign trust or foreign foundation that is going to be treated as an foreign source, society, club, or other association of individuals formed outside or registered outside India that is going to be treated as a foreign source, and any donations or the hospitality provided by the citizen of the foreign country that is also going to be treated as a foreign source, right? So this is a definition covered as per this FCRA Act. Now, what is the prohibition? So this is Atma. इस एक्ट का आत्मा कहाँ है? In this section 3. What this section 3 tells you that foreign contribution shall not be accepted by. Who cannot accept the foreign contribution? Who cannot accept the foreign stability? Number one, candidate for election. Now you can refer that definition and why we are discussing the who is the candidate for the election. And while making the financial statements for the declaration for the election commission or for that election purposes, one has to apply the test whether any funding for the foreign sources which will fall under the nature of foreign contribution or foreign hospitality is there for that particular candidate of the election. Correspondent, columnist, cartoonist, editor, owner, printer, or publisher of a registered newspaper. They are also prohibited. Journalist. Okay. So they are prohibited by accepting this foreign they cannot accept the foreign contribution. They cannot accept the foreign hospitality. That is being prohibited. Public servant, government servants, judges, or any employee of any government controlled corporations. We call it as a PSU, right? Public sector undertaking. So employee of that PSU or any government servant or the judicial
Hello, technical support team. Can we just connect with sir again? If you can log in again.
Okay, I think we got disconnected, but we are back on track, right? So we were discussing about the prohibition, the persons who cannot accept the foreign contribution. So we discussed that the candidate for the election, the journalist, and the government servant, or the servant or the staff of public sector undertaking, they cannot accept the foreign contribution. Also, the MPs or MLAs, member of the legislatures, they cannot accept the foreign contribution. Political parties, they are prohibited for accepting tech support. Is there any issue in this? Because I am also having the good connectivity, but ये drop होता है connection बहुत बार, because I am having the good connectivity. Okay, let's see. So we discussed who cannot accept the foreign contribution. Now we have to see who can accept the foreign contribution, right? So who can accept the foreign contribution? So the condition is that the person can accept the foreign contribution provided that person has registered with whom? Ministry of Home Affairs, central government, and they have granted a certificate to receive the foreign contribution, right? So there are two conditions. First, the person who wants to avail the foreign contribution, maybe in the form of donation, maybe in the form of foreign currency, they have to first register themselves with the Ministry of Home Affairs, and that Ministry of Home Affairs should give them the certificate to receive the foreign contribution. So the persons we are talking now here about, those persons association, as I discussed in the beginning of this session. So the associations who are the various individuals are coming there, they are forming one association for some educational purposes, for some cultural or economic or religious purposes, for social programs, and many of the times they receive that foreign contribution in the form of foreign donations. So they are allowed to receive this foreign contribution provided that they are also expected to get registered. It is not expected, it is mandatory that they should be mandatorily be registered with the Ministry of Home Affairs, and the Ministry of Home Affairs should give them the certificate to receive the foreign contribution. The illustrative list of such association who is carrying out different objectives or different programs, you can find the such list of the programs for whom they can receive the foreign contribution, but for them also the MHA can issue the certificate to receive the foreign contribution. That list is available on this website or this link which I have provided in this PPT. If you want, you can just have a note of that, right? Now, what will happen? Suppose a trust. A trust has received a foreign donation. Let us say the trust X. Trust X has granted a certificate by the MHA, Minister of Home Affairs, to receive the foreign donation, right? And they are validly collecting that donation amount. Now, whether X can transfer this foreign donation to Y, the second trust, right? X here has received the certificate, but Y, the other trust, has not received the certificate from the Ministry of Home Affairs, right? So, in this case, Section 7 comes into the picture. So, the person who is registered, X is registered here, they have also granted a certificate to receive the foreign contribution, and they have received the foreign contribution, but they are not allowed, they are not permitted to transfer any foreign contribution to any other person. That is strictly prohibited. And for that purpose, how to utilize this foreign contribution, that has been provided in Section 8 of this Act. So the prohibition is there. That person cannot accept this without getting the certificate. Even if you get certificate, if you receive the foreign contribution, you cannot transfer it to any other person. And the conditions for and how you can utilize this foreign contribution, that is specified in Section 8, right? So now just remember what we have so far covered. We have so far covered foreign contribution क्या होता है, foreign hospitality क्या होती है, foreign source क्या होता है, who is prohibited from accepting the foreign contribution, the list of those persons who can accept the foreign contribution, and the certification, and then they are not allowed to transfer such foreign contribution. Now the utilization part. So I cannot transfer the foreign contribution. Now, how can I utilize this? So the association, the trust, or let's say the company under Section 8, if they have granted this certificate and if they are receiving the foreign contribution, they have to make a compliance of Section 8. If the chartered accountant is providing services to such trust, to such NPO, to such association, to such companies under Section 8, or any other foreign source or any other foreign receipts which is falling as a foreign contribution, that is also covered under Section 8. An auditor of that respective entity, they needs to confirm the utilization part of this foreign contribution. So the purpose for which foreign contribution is received needs to be very clear, right? For what purposes the foreign contribution will be accepted, and the foreign contribution will be used for that purposes. It could be the construction of a building for that particular association or the trust. It could be for their objective purposes, program objective purposes, जो भी उनका social, cultural, economic या educational या religious purpose है, the programs under that. And if they have decided that they will accept the foreign contributions and they will expend it for the objective of that particular purposes, then the foreign contribution needs to be utilized for that purposes. They can make the surplus which is remained out of that foreign contribution in the bank deposit, but they cannot use it for the speculative businesses. And if you see the provision, this association, this trust, these NPOs or the companies Section 8, they cannot invest such amount of foreign contribution in the investment of mutual fund or shares. That is strictly again prohibited. So utilization के criteria यहाँ पे clear है. So first thing, the purpose क्या है, किसके लिए foreign contribution जमा किया है, and whether it is used for that purposes. Any surplus which is there, whether it is invested only in the deposits, bank deposit, and not invested in the speculative businesses. That needs to be verified. Again, some part of that, of course, is going to be utilized for the administrative expenditure that is supposed to be there, because all these organizations or achieving those objectives will definitely require some administrative expenditure. But the limit is also specified for that purposes. The act says the such association, such company, such trust, they can spend only up to 20% of the foreign contribution for the administrative expenses, not more than that. Right. So criteria is crystal clear about the utilization of this foreign contribution. Right. Now here, so these are the provisions. These are the 4 or 5 provisions. As I said, very, very basic provisions, very important provisions, and very easily understandable provisions. Right. Now, compliance of all these provisions, there is an opportunity for all of us. So, where are the opportunities for the chartered accountants considering these earlier provisions? So, we have the first opportunity to provide the registration facility. Because, as I said, if any trust or any association, they are going to receive or they are thinking to collect the foreign donations, foreign receipts, then we can provide the registration facility. Registration means registration under the FCRA with the Ministry of Home Affairs. So that is the first opportunity, professional opportunity we can look into. Of course, the audit is again an opportunity, because because we are going to discuss in the next few sections that there is a compulsory audit requirement, separate books of accounts needs to be kept. So all these things are there. So audit and certification is again an opportunity for the sake of verification of the compliances of the provisions under this act. So registration facility, audit, accounting related services, and certification related services are definitely opportunities under this act for the chartered accountants. And of course, if you are not doing the audit, if you are not doing the accounting work, then you can also provide the advisory or consultancy for how to make the compliances of these provisions of this act to such an entities. So this is a very professional opportunities we can look into by understanding the provisions of this law. Right. Now, as we discussed, if the person, if this trust, NPOs, or the Section 8 company, they wanted to avail the foreign contributions, what is the first requirement? Registration with the Ministry of Home Affairs. That is must. And for that purposes, application for registration is required to be made. Right? So that facility, that professional service we can provide. What is the validity? Listen here. The validity of this registration is only of 5 years. So again, after 5 years, there could be the renewal, a new registration possibility is there. So you can say that the compliance part could be there within these 5 years. And if there is a continuation of such foreign contribution from for that entity, even after 5 years, your professional services are required for such an legal entities. Right. So it is a continuous kind of an opportunities for all of us. Now, what are the conditions when if you are providing the services upon registration to such entities under this FCRA? So there are conditions which are definitely looked into by the Ministry of Home Affairs, that the entity which or the person who is applying for the registration is not a fictitious and benami. Now, benami here does have a very important word, because benami comes with the word as a KYC, know your customer. Right. So before providing the services to such an entity, we should know for providing the professional services, we should have the KYC of that particular entity, number one. And second, the organization, whether they are having their own KYC of the beneficiaries or of the directors or of the trustees, that is essential. Otherwise, we are experiencing that various trust NPOs or societies, they are getting formed under the name of the trust or the societies, but the funds are misutilized for various unwanted or you can say illegal purposes or even for the terrorist purposes, right? So the confirmation that the at the time of course the government will do this confirmation at the time of registration, but even before, when we are starting providing the services, we should also be able to have a verification of this point when we are providing the various services to such an entities. The government will again check that the person has not been prosecuted or convicted in any illegal activities. Normally, in all the government related registration processes, this is a common point that government will check the person who is applying. He or she is not indulged in any illegal activities, right? Has not been found guilty of diversion or misutilization of his funds. That is, now you can connect the point number one, fictitious or benami, and the diversion or misutilization of funds. Because many of the times objectives are quoted, but the funds of that particular trust or the societies or the foreign contribution, even the funds which are collected under the foreign contribution, they are not utilized for the purposes for which they are collected, and they are misutilized. And if such things are happening, then the registration will not be allowed to such person. Is not engaged or likely engaged in propagation or sedition of or advocate violent method to achieve its ends. Of course, again, that could be an illegal way to do that illegal activity. So, of course, the government will not grant the certification for that purposes. It is not likely to use the foreign contribution for personal gains or divert it for undesirable purposes. So, look how the checkpoints to be made out of this, because many of the times trust societies are created, the funds of it are actually used for the personal gain purposes of any the trustee ho, beneficiary ho, कोई भी हो सकता है. And rather than utilizing again for the objective purposes, they are diverted for the personal utilization. It is a clearly siphoning of the funds. Right. So if these conditions are there, of course, the government will not sanction the registration. But as a measure of safety for our professional services, I may request here to all the participants here to perform the strong KYC, and within the entity for whom we are providing the services, one checkpoint should be there that whether they are following their own KYC norms to avoid such conditions which are mentioned here, and the entity will get smoothly the registration from the MHA, right? The acceptance of the foreign contribution is not or likely to be affect the prodigiously. Of course, यहाँ हमारे country की security की बातें कही गई है. So it should not any prejudicial to our safety and security of the nation. It should not be prejudicial against the public interest. I hope now recently you are hearing various news related how this foreign hospitality is to be is provided, and how the our enemies are treating some of our persons, and they are providing the foreign hospitality services, and how they are getting some of the information which could be of importance for the safety and security of our nation, right? And if such things are happening, of course, the registration will not be allowed. So all these things which are mentioned here is related to the safety and security nation first. So safety and security of the nation, safety and security of the public interest. If any trust or any association or any person is collecting such foreign contribution against that, of course, the government will not sanction the registration certificate. And if it has already granted that certificate, then that can be get cancelled or suspended also, right? Now, This is the procedural part. I can say that for the registration purposes, what is the procedure? So, if many of the participants may be interested in providing the registration kind of services to such entity, so the application is needs to be filed with the Ministry of Home Affairs in the electronic form. You can find this information on the website of this Ministry of Home Affairs. And one more important, they have issued one FAQ also. If time permits, I will show you that FAQ. That is also there in the website of the Ministry of Home Affairs. For the purpose of getting the certification, that particular entity has to open the account in the State Bank of India main branch, New Delhi branch. Then the Aadhaar number of all the directors or the trustees or the key functionaries or the passport, etc., etc. That, as I said, is a part of the KYC thing. So all these things are essentially to be attached while submitting this form. Application fees prescribed, that is 10,000, and how to pay that that payment gateway and all these things are available. Okay, so this is the you can say the procedural part to complete the registration, right? But apart from that, there are certain additional conditions related to the functions of that particular entity, right? So the person has to who is making the application for the registration, they have to understand that they have some experience, they are doing some work in that particular field for, or in the for that particular object for which they are going to accept the foreign contribution. So one of the condition for the registration is that that particular entity should shall be in existence for at least 3 years, right? And they have spent minimum rupees 15 lakhs for its core objectives during the last 3 financial years, right? So when we are filing for the registration, the condition is that existence of that particular entity of 3 years and spending for the objectives or whatever. So if they are carrying out any educational objectives or if they are carrying out some economical or social cause purposes, then within the last 3 years, they must have spent amount of rupees 15 lakhs. It is possible that they have spent some expenditure on the capital purposes, like they might have acquired the land, they might have constructed the building, right? So that may have happened in the last 3 years. Now, if such a thing is that they have expended this amount for these capital purposes, then they have to give the undertaking that these assets will be there up till the validity of the period of the certification, right? So let us say I have spent some money on construction of the building of my society, right? And I'm asking for the certification. So in the last 3 years, I have spent some money on the building. Now, building is now owned by that particular trust or by that society. Now we have to give that undertaking that within the validity period of this certification, which will be granted by the MHA, they will not divert or sell this, that building. So that building will be in existence for the next 5 years. That is the validity period. And if they are going to renew that for the next 5 years, also that asset will be there, and there should not be diversion from that particular capital asset during the period of that particular periodicity of the validation of certificate. And again, this is an interesting point to be noted. If any participant is providing the auditing services to such NPOs or the companies, they have to identify which are those capital assets for which the declarations or undertaking has been given for the registration purposes, and any of these have been sold out or now diverted with. Okay, so these things needs to be again confirmed if that particular organization has received the certification of registration from the MHA. So that could be additional checkpoint which the professional has. And again, as I said, these things, these are very, the small things, but going to make a larger impact. And the trustees or the beneficiaries or the directors of the company, they may not aware about this important, small but very important provisions of this act. And many of the times they may sell, they may attempt to sell, or they might sell such an assets. So at that stage, as I said, the advisory or consultancy is going to be an opportunity, right? For them, it is a challenge because they may not aware about such tricky conditions, tricky provisions which are there under this act. But now we are aware about such provisions. So as a chartered accountant, we can provide the consultancy for such tricky points to such an entities, right? So sometimes the organization is at the formative stage. They have not yet completed the formalities for the formation, but still they want to get the foreign contribution, and for that purposes, they want to apply for this registration under this FCRA with the MHA. So whether that is allowed? So yes, so that can be allowed as a prior permission, right? But the thing is that certain pre-formalities are a must, that again, the registration under the particular act, either under the Societies Registration Act or under the Indian Trust Act or Section 8 of the Companies Act, right? That is must. Then commitment letter from the donor, right? So if the foreign donor or the foreign source is confirmed and they are ready to give you a foreign contribution or foreign donation, then the commitment letter from that foreign donor needs to be attached with that. And there are certain other conditions. The organization in India which is going to receive this foreign donation, that organization, for them there are certain conditions. What is that condition? The chief functionary of the recipient on the Indian organization should not be part of the donor organization. So let us say the trust X, which is in the formative stage, but they have registered under the Indian Trust Act or any other relevant state specific trust related act, and they are having a Y donor, foreign donor, and he has given the commitment letter. Now that donor could be company, that donor could be foreign donor. I am talking about the foreign donor. That foreign donor could be company, that foreign donor could be the trust, the foreign donor could be any association of person there, or it could be the foreign club, right? So what is the involvement of this Indian recipient organization in that foreign donor, that related to that these conditions are there, right? So condition says the chief functionary of the recipient of the Indian organization should not be the part of that foreign donor. So the key person, it could be the trustee, it could be, the main trustee, it could be the main director, whoever is the promoter, I can say in understandable language, promoter of this Indian recipient, he or she should not be the part of that foreign donor organization. At least 75% of the office bearers, member of the governing body of the Indian recipient organization, should not be the members or employees of the foreign donor organization. Right. See how many conditions are there, and and these are all important aspects of this act, and that's why there is a large amount of consultancy or advisory possibilities and opportunities are here, right? In case of an foreign donor organization being a single person individual, that person should not be the chief functionary, of course, in the individual recipient. Okay, so these conditions needs to be complied with or not. The verification of that is essentially be verified. If those Indian organization, they are not quite familiar with these provisions, then of course, as I said, we may provide the advisory or consultants. And as an auditor, of course, it is our responsibility to verify the compliances of all these conditions. So when the certification which is granted, as I said, it is As per the provisions of this act, it is valid for the period of 5 years. But under section 13, it is given, the section 13 gives the power to the government to suspend that particular registration. Of course, the government will do follow the procedure about giving the opportunity. They will record the reasons for the suspension and all that. And that suspension could be for a maximum period of 180 days or further period of 180 days. So normally the suspension could be period of 1 year at the most. Okay. Of course, with the necessary due procedure that will be followed by that. So when there is a violation of the provisions of this act, various compliances are there. Compliances which I have quoted in the earlier sections also, which are related to the constitution's part of that particular Indian recipient organization, right? So if any violations in those compliances are found, or the objective which is detrimental to the security of the nation or to the detrimental to the security of the public interest, of course the certificate can be cancelled. The condition under which the registration or prior permission granted has been violated, any condition. What are the conditions? Asset related conditions, object related conditions, 20% administrative expenses related conditions, right? Investment in the speculative business kind of conditions, transfer of foreign contribution to the other person contribution. So these are the conditions, these are the provisions. If these conditions are violated, then there is a possibility that that certificate which is granted for receipt of the foreign contribution, that will be cancelled. When incorrect or false statement made while granting the registration or the prior permission. So suppose I am interested in the foreign or donor organization, but I have not disclosed this fact, and subsequently it came to the notice of the government that the key functionary or the promoter of that Indian recipient organization, he or she was the part of that foreign donor organization. So this could be the false statement, and that the registration will also be get cancelled, and then they will be the necessary legal actions which is required for the collection of such foreign contribution will be initiated, right? When the institution has not carried out reasonable activity in the chosen field for 2 years or became defunct. So within the period of 5 years, the foreign contribution has received, but that has not been used at all for the objective for which it is collected, and that organization is now not in a working condition. That means it has carrying out no activity and it has become defunct. If the government came to, if it is came to the notice of the government, then the registration will of course get cancelled. Now, what are the other compliances where also we can provide the services to such an organization? So, as per the sections of this FCRA Act, what is required? Okay, and Rule 11 of this FCRA Rules 2011 has categorically mentioned something about the books of accounts. What is that? The first thing, that the separate books of accounts for the foreign contributions received and applied to be maintained. They are asking for the separate books of accounts. It is not to be mixed with the local books of accounts, right? So what is the expectation of the government when they are granting the certification? That when you are receiving the foreign contribution, then the receipt and utilization needs to be separately recorded into the separate books of accounts. And they have categorically stated separate books of accounts means the transactions under the FCRA should be exclusively accounted in a separate account without blending the same with the local amount. Right? So here again, that's why I mentioned in the opportunity that these are the specialized books of accounts which are required to achieve to make the compliances under the provisions of this act, which many of the trustees, many of the beneficiaries, many of the directors may not be aware about, and they might be keeping the books of accounts which are blended with the local amount. The next condition which normally we follow, that expenditure in excess of rupees 20,000 should be paid by the account paycheck and all that. Okay, so that in most of the cases now we are verifying that. The next opportunity, as I said, is there in the auditing related to this foreign contribution. So the entity which is receiving the foreign contribution, they are required to submit FC4 form, right? So FC4 form needs to be accompanied by the audited income and expenditure account, receipt and payment account, and the balance sheet, right? And that too within the 9 months from the closure of the financial year. So normally it is the 30th of September. So separate audit or in the form of FC4 needs to be submitted. Reply. So this is an annual return. FC4 is what? This is an annual return in which they have to specifically state what is the amount of the foreign contribution received, the bank account details, and the respects fund transferred to the bank account for utilization. So in a short, you can say it is a receipt and payment account, how the funds were received and how they were utilized for that purposes. Right? Any foreign contribution relates to any article, the intimation shall be submitted in the FC1. Again, this is a technical compliances which needs to be submitted. Foreign contribution related to only foreign securities, then again it needs to be submitted in the form FC1. So these are the compliances along with the audit requirement is to be done. Okay. Of course, what the law expect that every audit report should be certified by the chartered accountant, right? So they have category stated that these services as audit services need to be provided only by the chartered accountant along with whatever the statement of income, expenditure, receipt payment, etc., to be supported with that FC4. If you are granted the certification and if you are not done anything, you are not received within the 5 years, 1 or 2 years, you may receive the foreign contribution. But let's say in the third year or fourth year, you may not receive any foreign contribution. And whatever the earlier foreign contribution you have received, that you utilized in that first and second year. So nothing has done actually in the third and fourth year of this certification year. So in that case also, a nil report needs to be submitted during that year. So ऐसा नहीं है कि इस साल में मैंने कुछ किया ही नहीं, मेरे पास फॉरेन कंट्रीब्यूशन कुछ आया ही नहीं, लेकिन मेरे पास मैंने कुछ यूटिलाइज भी नहीं किया, सो आई नीड नॉट बी मेक एनी कंप्लायंसेस ऑफ दिस FCRA रूल्स, राइट? ऐसा नहीं है. So if the certification is valid within that 5 years, even though no activity is carried out, no foreign contribution is received, and nothing has been utilized, then you have to submit the nil return for that, right? When foreign contribution has not been received or utilized during the financial, it should be required to be certified by the chartered accountant. So same thing, in that process we are going. Now, audit report or audit certification, what is required as a content, right? So contents are essentially to be noted as a technical compliances. So brought forward balance of the foreign contribution from the last year. Foreign contribution, if any, received during the year. If it is deposited in any bank, if any interest accrued on such foreign contribution, because that is also going to be treated as a foreign contribution. Any unutilized balance, of course, when there will be some balance in the bank deposit and so, that means that has been not utilized for the purpose for which it has been accepted. Certification that association has maintained the account of foreign contribution according to this section 19. And the balance sheet, profit, receipt and payment, income, expenditure, etc., needs to be, should be contained in the audit report, right? Now, FCRA asset, the assets which are, generated, right, by the receipt of this foreign contribution. So income from investment, as I said, such income will have the character of foreign contribution because that we have originally discussed. There is no restriction of creation of fixed asset out of this foreign contribution that should be reflected in this separate books of account which is maintained for that, and sale of assets created out of the foreign funds should be credited to the FC bank account only. So if it is going to be sold out, that also be treated as a nature of the foreign contribution, right? We have already seen that the association or the person who has granted the certificate, they cannot transfer the foreign contribution to any other person. One more condition is there, that the administrative expenditure for carrying out all these objective related expenditure, every organization has to spend for the administrative expenditure, and what is the maximum amount which the association or the NPO they can spend for this administrative expenses purposes, that is only 20% of the total FCRA receipt. So earlier it was 50%, now it is restricted only to the 20%. And what are the administrative expenses which are eligible for that purposes? The list of that is also stated. So it could be for the salary purposes, wages, travel expenditure, right? The expenses towards hiring of the personnel for management activities, consumable expenditure, cost of accounting and administrating the funds, right? Expenses toward the running and maintenance of particular assets, cost of writing and filing the report, legal and professional charges, rental part of this administrative expenses. So these are the allowable administrative expenses, maximum up to 20% of the foreign contribution receipt. Now, in the beginning, I said that there is a risk element when the foreign contributions are received. And if those are not utilized for the purpose for which they are collected, and the divergence happens. And in many cases, it has been seen that such NPOs are formed, such NPOs are created, some objectives are optically displayed, but the hidden agenda is something different, right? So some of these foreign contributions are actually received for funding to the terrorist activities either, or carrying out some illegal activities also, right? And that's why the utilization part, the Benami part, and the KYC part from both the sides, from our side and also from within that organizational side, this is very, very essential. And character of foreign source, because the character of foreign source could be उसको छिपा सकते हैं, I can say, because as I said, money laundering के लिए बहुत सारे tactics है. There are different types of the money laundering. It could be the currency related laundering, it could be service related laundering, it could be trade based laundering, you know. So the services, they will show that some of the services they have provided outside the country, but actually that services have not been provided and the amount has been received. So actually that is not the amount for that against that particular services. So it may fall under the category of the foreign contribution. But if we are not closely verified that the movement of the services, the movement of the goods related to that, then it may fall into the category of the trade-based laundering or the service-based laundering or service-related laundering, etc., etc. And the nature of that could be of a foreign contribution, right? And that foreign contribution, since the organization are tried to hide them as the payment received from the commercial activities, but actually no services or no goods have been moved against that, and then it will attract the provisions of the FCRA. So that is the greater risk as far as our professional matter is concerned, that needs to be keep in our thought process while providing these services, especially the providing auditing services to such an organization. And even in some cases of the company or any other legal entities, when they are claiming that these are the funding received from the foreign sources and that is against the commercial activities, in that case also, the auditor, the chartered accountants, they should carefully look into the non-financial data for the movement of actual goods and services, and against that actually the foreign funding has been received or not. Otherwise, that may attract the provisions of this foreign contribution, and the compliances is very much there for those organizations also. So wherever necessary, this is of course the good practice guidelines with the on the background of this money laundering risk related to that, and this is coming from the FATF requirement. Okay, Financial Action Task Force, which is monitoring the compliance part by the various countries related to the money laundering activities, and which is also giving some recommendations uh, so that the money laundering activities could be specifically related to the terrorist funding could be restricted within this whole world. Okay. So what are the good practices guidelines as per this FATF? That NPO should be vigilant enough. They should, whenever these foreign contributions is getting received, they should be very vigilant enough. And if they found any suspicious activity, if they are finding any foreign source which is to be suspicious, then it is their responsibility to inform to this Ministry of Home Affairs about that. The board of directors, chief functionary, or the trustees, they should have well awareness about the provisions of these acts, and that's why they should be well aware about and they should give the directions to their staff, to their officials, so that they can be aware about this compliances part also. NPO shall put its goals, objectives, and activities on the website. May be possible for all the NPOs, may not be possible for all the NPOs, but at least in the formal document somewhere, they should have this clarity, and that needs to be documented. NPO shall upload the details of the key person associated with the NPOs. That is again one of the important aspect of the due diligence for the KYC purposes. NPO shall take the due diligence of its employees at the time of the requirement. That screening is essential. And now in India, most of such screening part is already started. NPO shall maintain the information of the beneficiaries of the funds and upload its details on the website and monitor the activities of the beneficiaries. Again, even if that has not been possibly be done on the website, because most of them may have or may not have such kind of an website, but the documentation related to who are the beneficiaries, again the KYC part of the beneficiaries, the details of the beneficiaries if they are in the form of the legal entity. So these good practices, if they will keep following on, the risk of the money laundering, which is an integral part for, I can say, it is an integral risk related to this foreign contribution, that can be well controlled or at least monitored. And as I said, this is a bit a tough task for those who are actually functioning in on the field, because they are actively involved into the functionary part for achieving the objectives or goals of that particular legal entities. And here, this is a challenge for them, but again, as I said, as a aware person, chartered accountant related to the compliance of these provisions, we can provide the training, we can provide the advisory, we can provide the consultancy for the compliances of very small but very effective and important part of this act of FCRA, which is, as I say again repeating, having some integral risk related to the money laundering or other non-compliances risk which is there. So with this, friends, now I'm going to stop my presentation. And if you have any questions, please let me know. I'm here to respond to those queries or questions. Yes, any questions, any doubts?
Yes, we do some questions.
Can if your voice
There's request of repeating form everyone on slide number 20.
Parambir ji, your voice is breaking. So is it okay for you if you can put that in a chat box? I'm not getting your voice clear.
Sure, sir. I'll try. Just can you hear me, sir? Now?
Hmm. Yes, yes.
Okay, sir. So, sir, there is this a query of repeating form FC1. There is this query of repeating form FC1. There is this query of repeating form FC1.
I'm not getting anything. Voice is breaking. Can you please put that on the chat box?
Um, Sir, I have put the question in the chat box. Can you see that?
Request to repeat form FC on slide 1. Okay, I will do that once more. Okay, I got the question. I will repeat that. Okay, so yeah, this is the FC1 form required. If the foreign contribution is received in the form of article, then the FC1 is required to be submitted. If the foreign contribution is received in the form of foreign securities, then FC1 is to be submitted. So this is the two requirements where the form FC1 is required to be submitted. I hope it is clear now.
Sir, there is this next question. How to get clients for such compliances so that new qualified chartered accountants can get such clients? Please, sir, guide.
Okay, so of course, as I said, but there is a less awareness amongst the amongst the various NPOs or the associations which are providing some social cause related objectives or educational related objective. Now the thing is that of course the awareness could be the programs like this. The second part of the awareness, even if you are carrying right now any audit for such organization, there may be the possibilities that some of the funds might be in the nature of this foreign contribution, because if you don't understand what is foreign contribution and what is the foreign funding which is received against the commercial activities, so the test to be applied even for the companies which you are doing the audit, even for the trust or societies for whom you are doing the audit, or any other services, let's say the bookkeeping and accounting kind of services. The question is whether we are applying the test that when they say that some of the foreign resident they have contributed like this, when they say that okay, some of the relatives of the in the city or uh, in our town who is having the relatives in the foreign country, they are sending some of the amount for this social cause. So the auditor should understand that all these are falling under the foreign contribution or foreign hospitality things. So whatever the services you are providing to your existing client, within that you have to apply the test whether the foreign funds are really for the commercial activity purposes or really where they are falling under the foreign contributions or not. If you are able to apply those tests, you can identify that you did not be searched for any new client. Even within the existing clients, you will get many of the opportunities to provide the services.
Sir, the next question is whether FCRA account is opened before registration.
FCRA account at the time of registration, it is mandatory. So I hope he's or the question is about the FCRA account in that specific bank of the SBI, Sansad Marg, and also. So that needs to be required to be given as a form, as a formality or the process of the registration that needs to be uh, opened subsequent once the registration has been sanctioned to that particular entity.
Sir, the next question is corpus fund should be which can be used in case of emergency. I believe that some grammatical mistake is there. Corpus fund should be which can be used in case of emergency.
No, but if the corpus funds is having the elements of the foreign contribution, so if you have created the corpus fund with the foreign contribution, then emergency mean what? Emergency, even the emergency for your objective purposes only. That emergency does not mean that you can spend these out of the objectives. So if it is emergency related to the objective, you can spend that.
Sir, job holders who are living abroad, up to what limit can be sent to parents living in India?
No, no, no. These are not the foreign contribution because these are the personal kind of things, right? So they may not fall under the category of this foreign contribution.
Sir, NPO received the contribution in 1 year and spent 20% in the year towards administrative expenses, and whether it can spend another 20% in the second year if they have not received any contribution in the subsequent years.
So what is the requirement of the provision? Whatever the receipts, let us say they have received rupees 10 lakh in first year. So what law say, what is the foreign contribution? That is 10 lakh. Out of that, 20% you can spend. That you can spend in the 1 year, 2 year, or 3 year, right? And in the subsequent year, you are not received any additional funds. That means within that 10 lakhs, you can spend only 2 lakhs as an administrative expenditure. If you have spent all that 2 lakhs in the first year, so there is no balance in the second or third year to be spent on that administrative expenses.
All right. Sir, the next question is whether donation given by non-resident Indians is treated as foreign contribution.
Yes, donations given by the non-resident Indian uh, is of course going to be treated as a foreign contribution as per the definition of that foreign contribution. Currency, whether it is Indian or even the foreign currency, that is going to be treated as a foreign contribution.
Okay. So next question is it necessary to file form FC4 after the cancellation of FC registration?
No, after the cancellation of the registration, but in the year in which you are cancelling, for that year it may be required, but subsequent to that, if you are not getting additional 5 years renewed certification and you are totally now stopped receiving any foreign contributions, then in that case, it is not necessary up to the year in which you are getting the foreign contribution and validity period of that certification. It is must, but during the fifth year, it could be the tricky question that during the fifth year or the sixth year, the borderline would be there for that year. You will have to submit that FC4.
Sir, next question is whether foreign remittances received from a relative are to be treated as foreign contribution as per FCRA 2010.
No, no. See, foreign remittances are not to be treated because they are of the personal nature. That I think the same question is I think repeated
Yes.
earlier also that kind of a question was there.
Yes. Sir, the next question is FCRA admin expenses. Regarding the same, I would like to know more on how are these calculated. For example, are they calculated on the total foreign donation received in a year, or are they calculated on the total expenses incurred from the foreign funds?
It is 20% of the total receipt of the foreign contribution. So I think I have given that example also. So if you are received 10 lakh as a foreign contribution, 20% of 10 lakh, that is 2 lakh, that is allowable as an administrative expenses. Whether you are going to expend it in any year, 1 year, second year or whatever, it is calculated in relation to the foreign contribution total receipt.
So next question is renewal of a registered FCRA trust falls due before 6 months of the validity of 5 years. Now, if the registration validity expires on 30th September 2026, when should the trust apply for its renewal?
So I think they should start the registration renewal processes from February, March of 2026.
Sir, whether donations given by non-resident Indians is treated as foreign contribution?
Yes, I think the same question.
Yes. Why MHA rejects the application of a trust whose managing trustee is a foreigner?
Yeah, so if they, as I said, if what is the condition? They wanted to confirm that the managing trustee, it is again a part of, I can say, the due diligence or the KYC related matter, because they want to ensure that the foreign, what is the connection between the foreign donor and this managing trustee. So if they found that there is some connection relations, that managing trustee here is receiving the foreign donation from the organization in which directly or indirectly is related, so they may not give that certification. That is quite possible.
Um, Sir, so far I have received these many questions. I request the participants, if any other question is left, please, we do have time. Sir, if you allow, we can wait for 1 to 2 minutes if any other
Yeah,
questions
sure,
are left.
sure.
Sir, there is this one question that practically when will clients approach us?
See, if the client are well aware about this provision, they will approach you when they have a sense that they are going to get some foreign donation, right? But as I said, in case of an trust or society, the trustees and the whoever be the in charge of that society, they I don't know how many of they are well aware about the provisions of this act. So rather than you wait by them to approach us, it is, if you are providing already the services to them, it is better that if you can have some training or some kind of an consultancy for them, that this is the law, this could be the provision. So wherever you will have a chance that you are getting funds from the foreign sources directly or indirectly, these compliances of this act is necessarily be done. So rather than waiting from them, I think it is the proactive approach which I am expecting from the participants.
So next question is whether interest earned on FC funds received after the cancellation of registration, is it be treated as FC funds received?
Yes, yes, the answer is yes. And all the other compliances needs to be done. See, registration is a part, again, you'll have to apply for the re-registration and the submission of all that compliance related document is must, because that is treated as a foreign contribution. If you are not submitted, if not declared, then there it could be possibility of violation of the provisions of this law.
Okay. Sir, there is this question. I believe somebody has typed it half. Uh, Anshul Agrawal, sir, can you please type your message again? I believe it's half of the message. Okay. In the meanwhile, sir, there is this next question. Whether the remittances by an NRE to a resident attract FCRA?
No, here resident means whom? Again, can we treat as an individual relative or any? I don't have any clue. So without any clue, I cannot specify that. But if it is personal nature, individual to individual, that is exempted. Again, there are certain exclusions for certain purposes. And other than that, the test needs to be applied for the foreign contribution.
Okay, sir. I request the participants to please put up their queries if there are any. Sir, the next question is for renewal of FC registration after 5 years. Do the MHA carry on physical verification of documents?
Yeah, this is possible. I cannot say no, this is possible. All the compliances necessarily be verified. They may possibly do that.
Okay. So next question is NGO registered under 1860 receives donation for construction of community hall from an NRI. Will it require FCA registration?
Of course, it will.
Okay. Sir, the question which was half written, sir is asking the frequently asked questions in FCRA if the time allows, the FAQs in FCRA.
Yeah, I will try to share some of the FAQs. Let me show that if time permits. Yeah, these are the FAQs which are available on the website of the Ministry of Home Affairs. Okay, so you can get access to these FAQs, of course, and they have clearly given the explanation related to the queries which some of you are asking about. Okay, so these FAQs could be of a very good help to all of them, and this is, as I said, is available on the website of the Ministry of Home Affairs.
Okay, sir. Sir, the next question is what to be done to unutilized balance of FC fund if registration not renewed?
No, you have to renew the registration. You will have to declare all these things to avoid any, the legal actions against that particular firm. So get it done as quickly. You will have to give the explanation for the delayed things. Provide that and get it done. And submit all the necessary returns and keep the separate books of accounts, audit it, prepare the separate income expenditure, etc., which we have discussed in this session. So please keep that record updated, get it the registration done, and submit all these things to the MHA.
Sir, the next question is whether the certificate of registration is to be renewed and what is the procedure for such renewal?
So it is as good as the applying for the new. As I said, the validity is of 5 years, and after 5 years, you'll have to do the same things. But only thing is that now you are having the bank account and all that. So apart from that, the renewal procedures is required to be done.
So next question is, since the interest earned is barred for utilization, is it necessary to file FC4?
Interest is barred. How can I'm not getting this question clearly?
They are saying interest earned is barred for utilization.
No. Interest utilization is never barred for the utilization. Only thing is that now you are having the surplus fund this year. You are not able to spend that during the year. So you are deposited, you have earned the interest. That will be fall under the category of foreign contribution. In the next year, you can utilize for the objective of your program.
So I believe the answer to the question is yes, it is necessary to file FC4.
Yes.
Okay. So the next question is, can we sell immovable asset acquired from foreign contribution and use the proceeds for furtherance objective?
Again, it as I said in the last slide, I have mentioned that it will be again get it qualified as a foreign contribution. So all the procedural part, sorry, compliance part, whichever is there, that needs to be done.
So next question is, NGO registered under 1860, can it receive cash donations? Is there any limit if not registered under 12A?
See, 12A is for the income tax. Here we are talking about the foreign contribution point of view. And foreign contribution point of view, for only article, there is a limit of rupees 25,000. Okay, below that, they are not treating as an foreign contribution. But for receiving the cash or currency, there is no limit. So if they are receiving any directly or indirectly foreign funding in the form of currency, then there is no such limit.
So the same person is asking the question, NGO registered under 1860 Act, can it receive donations in kind without any limit?
So in kind, that could be the article. So the limit market value 25,000. Okay, if the market value is less than 25,000, that may not fall under the classification of the foreign contribution. If the market value is more than 25,000, of course, it will attract the foreign contribution and it needs to be complied with these provisions.
Okay. Sir, I believe that we have covered all the questions given the time we have been allowed.
Yes.
So if you'll allow me, we can just wind up the wonderful session now, sir.
Yes, sure. And I would like to thank you, basically. You have done.
I'm so sorry, sir. There was
it's okay.
a network issue. I couldn't join at that time. I'm so sorry for that.
No, not for sorry. But the last part, you have handled it quite intelligently. Very much thanks for that.
Thank you so much. So, good evening, everyone. On behalf of all of us, I extend a sincere thanks to our speaker for the day, CA Uday Kulkarni sir, for sharing such valuable insights with us. Your words have truly enriched our perspective, sir. A special thanks to our chairman and vice chairman for organizing such beautiful event, and to all the attendees for your enthusiastic participation. We also appreciate the efforts of the technical team for ensuring everything ran smoothly behind the scenes. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for making this session a success.